Be bold.
Be
Yeah.
bold. And I'm going to switch briefly to the other input. And I know you guys can't stand the echo, but I'm going to switch so that the audience can hear the theme music. And then I'll turn it back so you guys don't have to put up with echo the whole show.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay. Now I need to put faces back in
weird
because they
hearing
all
myself.
disappeared. Oh, my favorite. Yeah, I don't know if OBS does this to everyone else, but all my
I have.
little
I'm
face.
very weird. So the way I have is like, it took me a while to.
Boop. Yeah, let's not. That's a problem. Cancel. Sorry. Okay.
Did I do this week?
Hmm?
Oh, I'm just trying to fill in stuff.
Okay. Did OBS once again ditch window capture?
It's in there. I use it. Do they change the name?
It's got the screen capture like it used to do, which sucks. And it's got video capture device, Mac OS screen capture. Yeah, the oh, it's deprecated. Thanks. That makes
Oh, we,
sense. All
I
right.
guess I didn't know. I do use ScreenCap. I don't have any trouble with that. But
Yeah, I don't know why it did that. Put it like where I couldn't see it. That's great. It's my favorite. I wish I didn't have to redo this all the damn time. Like about half the time, they disappear. And I already put Scott's name in, so that's good. It was easy because we had Bill last, so all I had to do was change your name.
simple.
Yeah, rather than change the whole thing because there's more people. And existing. And me. Welcome everybody to Tech Time with Geek Grills. We'll be ready to go
I
any
hate it.
second. Yeah,
Little
you
tech
know what I'll
pro.
do is I can play the theme song while I play around. Everybody gets to see me move our faces around, and then that'll be out of the way and just easier for me to edit later together. And Scott will get to hear it.
Whee!
We got perspective, we got the cool, we got the muscle, and you know we effing rule. We are the Geek Grills, we are the Geek Grills. Alright! We got the know how, we got control, we got the knowledge, and we tell you how it rolls. We are the Geek Grills, we are the Geek Grills. Alright! We are the Geek Grills, we are the Geek Grills. Tonight! Hell yeah.
Now I can shut off the echo that you guys are hearing.
Hooray!
There we go. All better?
Check
Test.
1, 2.
I don't
Yes.
hear it now. I don't hear
Hooray.
no echo now.
I don't know why it only does it for our show.
It's a curse.
It's rough.
Christ!
And I'll get Ray in here. Whoop. And then we'll be good to go. Everyone have notes up?
Yes.
Yep. Ready and
Scott,
Ready.
if you want to change your intro, go ahead. I saw you hadn't put one,
Re-
so I just slapped
Oh, I
on a
thought
bunch
I
of
did.
stuff for Ray to say.
I thought I did.
Ready
Oh,
and
yeah, I
ready.
did. Scott Johnson, award-winning podcast host and illustrator. I put in there, but I guess I put it in the wrong place.
Oh,
Or do you guys
nope,
not
it's
see it?
there.
okay.
Okay. Yeah, I put it in there.
That's fine.
It's fine. It's all fine.
I'm easy. You could say you just found me in the alleyway. It'd be fine. I'm easy.
People. I
While
don't
searching
know
for
if they-
artists in the wild, we stumbled across the rare and elusive Scott Johnson.
That's right. Just hanging out outside near a dumpster.
A wild
And he's
Scott appeared.
hanging out in here. Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna share around. Ray, you can just start whenever you like.
Okay, excellent. Hello, welcome to episode 252 of Geek Grills. The Geek Grills podcast is supported primarily by our patrons at www.patreon.com/grills. I'm Ray, and I'm joined by my co-host Ember
Hi, how are you?
and Linda.
Hello.
And today we have a special guest, Scott Johnson, artist, streamer, podcaster, game publisher, and the head of the Frog Pants Network.
Oh, hi. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming. We're super excited.
Well, I'm glad to be here. September's been bugging me to do this forever. And so now's the time. Here's the place. If not now, who? If not now, when? If not who, then who?
That's exactly how that works.
Nailed it.
Excellent. So before we get into all about you, Ray, what have everyone been up to this crazy week?
I can
Who
go
wants to
first,
go?
I guess.
That's how it is in the notes.
Okay.
How it is in the notes. You know, the things that we're supposed to look at. I've basically been doing like commissions, Christmas shopping. I'm almost done kind of working on us where remember my crochet hook is my fidget toy. I've got the almost doneness. He's still in pieces, but it's a stitch. It's gonna be a stitch. Like here's his feet.
Right
There's
now
his
it's
Aw.
face.
the silence version of Stitch.
Once
so
I get it, you know, sewed together, then I'll stab his eyes into existence like I usually do.
It's called felting.
It's
Don't
called,
panic, Scott.
It's called needle felting. But you take a needle and you stab the felt until it becomes a shape. But I've got
I didn't know about that. That's so cool. I didn't even know that was a thing.
yeah, it's do I have something near me that I have done needle felting on? I don't think so, but
I've never even heard of that term. That's cool.
you can either do flat like eyes onto pre-made things, or you can just whole cloth make something just out of felt by stabbing it over and over again.
That's pretty cool. I had no idea.
But the other something else I've gotten actually done this week is I made an apple. He's a little apple boy.
Aw.
Aw.
He's cute.
Yeah, I need to move my lamp. I am in darkness. Can't really see his but because I got I don't remember if Ember was on the show that I got this, but I have my book of kawaii crochet, and I'm just going through the entire book, and one right after the other, I'm gonna make all the projects. So the first project in here in the red section was an apple, so I made that. And then
Is it all in alphabetical order? Like A is for apple.
It's color. It's hold on. I don't actually know if it's by alphabetical. It is. It's by color and by alphabet. So the red section you have like apple, and then Next one, Christmas Light.
Well, good. You won't wear out the back of the
Popcorn,
catalog with like an index.
soda, yeah, and then all the like, it's all different cute things. So, but I had to take a pause from that to do this because once I get Stitch done, I also am making an angel to go with it, which is his girlfriend from the series. Yeah, it's from the series, the Lilo and Stitch series.
Oh,
Once
I
I
didn't
get,
Stitch had a girlfriend. That's news to me.
yeah,
I
if
like
you,
Stitch. He's one of my favorite Disney characters, but I had no idea he was seeing someone.
yeah, it's in the series, Disney Channel series. It was in the late I don't remember when it. I don't remember when it premiered, but it was on the Disney Channel. But once I get those done, I will be done with commissions
Yay!
for the season. No more Christmas commissions. I'm done. But then I did get to go Christmas shopping. I can't say what I bought because my mom listens. I don't know if she watches, but she listens to the show, and I bought her one of her Christmas gifts. So I bought some Christmas stuff and
Okay.
Christmas. So, hi, Mom. Yeah, that's been pretty much what I've been up to. My this is gonna be sound so strange. My face hurts right now because before we started recording, I was watching a bunch of behind the scenes stuff for like a show that I watch, and one of the actors is just like a ball of chaos. So I'm watching all the behind the scenes stuff, and it's just this ball of chaos that comes into screen every once in a while. And every time I see him, I can't help but grin. Like I'm just smiling the entire time. So we got started recording, and I was like, "Ow! Why do my cheeks hurt?" Because I've been smiling too much, apparently. So that's my life.
Okay.
Ember, what have you been up to?
Well, I was on TMS last week, which was really exciting. This is the first time was actually doing a segment because I don't think the ANTP thing counts. That was just like for exhibition purposes. But Amy, Red Fraggle, was recovering from surgery, so I did the Read This segment. And I talked about friend of the show, JF Dubois, and his writing, because Amy can't do horror. The images just stick in her mind, kind of like Linda, like, no, no with the horror. And so I
Specifically
decided,
zombies. Specifically zombies. I
specifically
always
zombies.
have
Okay.
nightmares.
But I talked about JF Dubois so that, everyone could get their horror fix in that one little opportunity. And by the way, he wrote me a nice message and thanked me for that yesterday. I've been etching some Mug Club glasses. So it's commissions, but not specifically Christmas, at Red Buffalo, a local brewery. They have Mug Club glasses, but you take them home with you and they just have numbers. And you know, I etched my name on mine. So everybody saw it, and now it's like, ooh, can I have it? And somebody said, I'll give you $10. I'm like, well, there's the price point because I'm bad at that. And I went out for a pint the other night, and people started coming up to me and, can you do me? So I've been doing that. And what else? Oh, helping Tanner Straven in all the discords with the Do-Gooders initiative. That's a Frog Pants thing. We've got this like channel where people talk about the good deeds they've done and passing on, this and that. And we started our first fundraiser, and I spotted someone on the Facebook that like his electricity was about to be shut off, and he doesn't get paid till a few more days, and worried about Christmas. And the fundraiser we had already started went over a bit, so between that and me and Tanner like throwing some extra money at it super fast helped this guy out. So the Do-Getters initiative, I think it's going to be quarterly from now on, but it got off to a good start. And yeah, I'm kind of like apparently ended up being the assistant or associate helper with that, just because. Um, And that's it. I still don't have a tree. So hopefully that happens. I hope they don't run out before I go get a chance to get a tree.
Do you always get a real tree every year? Or what do you do normally?
Generally do. If we get a tree, we get a real one. It's better for the environment. And we've got a tradition because we were married on the winter solstice and we asked everyone to bring ornaments, like instead of presents. So every year on the 21st, we put on all the ornaments and try to remember who brought them and that kind of thing. And we also usually ask the guy at the lot, like, hey, if you see a family, like, trying to talk their kids into a smaller tree, they're having, like, a little trouble figuring this out, like, here's what we paid for our tree, give this to them. And pass that on that way. So,
Nice. I
yeah.
like that.
Aw.
Aw.
Yeah. What have you been up to this week, Scott?
Been very busy with all sorts of stuff. Primarily, I'm making a new card game, and I've been working on everything from card art that I'm missing to rule changes. I got the is it here? I could show it on camera. Nope, it's upstairs. Dang it! But I got a test deck made, and it's basically. Sure, I didn't really bring it. It's basically in beta form right now. So I can find typos or issues or gameplay stuff or balance issues at this stage. I learned a lot from the process of making my first card game, just about the process itself. And so things are going a little smoother in terms of like, how to tackle an issue and fix it. And then, replay test to make sure we resolved it before we print anything else. And it's all going so well that it's actually going faster than I thought it would. So I'm looking forward to like a Kickstarter probably sometime early January at this rate, unless something really crazy goes bad. And this weekend I'm getting my first 5-player playtest, which is the maximum players, I think, right now. And it's just such a new thing for me that I'm super obsessed with it. Like if I'm not, I've got commissions due, I've got other stuff to get done, I got shows to prep and do. I relaunched the Diablo show, I got all this stuff going on. But then as soon as that stuff wraps, I'm like, all right, back to the card game. And I'll put some like old Futurama episodes on and just have that in the background while I crank away on this 112 card deck or whatever it is. And it sounds like a lot, but I am having so much fun with it right now. And that's been mainly it. Spending time with family, doing Christmas stuff. For the most part, though, it is like all eyes on this thing right now.
Well, I volunteer as tribute for testing that, given that the first time I played Rock Runners, I managed to play it wrong. It still worked, but it was a good test late in the game.
Yeah, that is a good test. Like, that's the thing I have to do is once I get to the next stage is get some test decks out to people so I can get some real world sort of, hands-on experience. And I'm looking forward to that phase because that phase is usually the moment where I'm like, all right, we're good. Let's go. Like hit the gas. Like, let's get this thing out. But I don't know why I'm enjoying it so much. I think part of me, in some ways it's tedious because it's a lot of like rules and keeping track of like systems and how one card affects another card and that sort of thing. And that can seem a little like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of math involved or whatever. But at the end of it all, for whatever reason, this stuff is just addicting. I just love working on it. If anything, it's killed some of my game time because I'm used to playing a little bit more than I have lately. And I just haven't had time to like fire much up. Everyone's playing that Marvel Midnight Suns game, and I really want to play it. And I have it on the hard drive just sitting there, but I haven't been able to touch it. So, and all my co-hosts, my gaming co-hosts are, cheesing me every time I get on the air. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm building a game. I'm making my own game. Dang it. It's made out of paper. So look out, But anyway, it's going good. And, but other than that, trying to spend time with my kids and their kids and, my wife, and the dogs are pretty needy at the moment. And it's snowing like a blizzard at the moment where I live. Hopefully our internet holds up tonight, as far as I know. But, yeah, just hunkering down for getting these projects out and hoping the winter doesn't cover us and destroy us all.
All right.
Indeed. All right, let's see.
Oh, and I broke my Steam Deck and had to send it to Valve. That was the other thing I was going to mention.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's a stupid story, but basically I dropped it or it fell off something and it caught one of the analog sticks on the edge of a chair and basically jammed the analog stick up so that it would not go back into place. And I love that device. It's where I was playing most of my games. I'd play them at night. I'd play on that. And it just was beyond repair unless I wanted to take it apart and I didn't feel confident doing it. So I reached out to Valve and they were so cool about it, even though I don't even think this is like covered under warranty. It's too weird. But they were like, yeah, it's fine. They looked at my library and said, you have 2,000 plus games. I think we'll take care of this. Probably more than paid for my Steam Deck a long time ago. So they're going to fix it. Takes 5 to 7 days to evaluate and then another 5 or 7 to ship it. So I probably won't get it back before Christmas, but
Well,
I'm
that
pretty
and they
happy
had to ship out like the awards ceremony
Yeah.
Steam Decks.
Yeah, we figured out what that was. It was 173 Steam Decks that they gave away that night.
Oh,
They
wow.
were all the top end model as well, so they were all the high end ones. And there was pretty low chance of people getting them. I mean, it was 480,000 concurrent viewers at one point.
And
on-
there was from I watched that. I watched you guys on Core covering it, but then I had that
Yeah.
going in the background to try and win. There were definitely bots in there.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I think I mean, I don't know what they'll do different next time, but this stuff's always, especially big high profile stuff, you're always going to be subject to this problem. So I don't know why they even tried, to be honest. It's pretty crazy, but people did win them and, they finally do have them in stock on the regular, which is nice. So I don't know. I was kind of hoping they would just say, hey, we'll send you this new one. We'll cross it and you send us the old one. I was hoping they might do that, but they didn't want to do it that way. But they are being really nice and really attentive, and I don't know, that speaks well of Valve, I guess.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry, it just reminded me of that, and I had to vent that particular frustration because that was lately has been my go-to gaming device, and I miss it horribly.
Yeah, our friend Katie, she just lives by it. She's like, I haven't touched my Switch like ever since I got the Steam Deck. Like, this is what I do every time before bed. I play my Steam Deck for like an hour or so.
Yep, 100% true. And it's weird because I'm still kind of a multi-system fan. I like spreading things out, but I don't know. It just was so convenient. Like I could just plop down in a chair, and it was big and wide and big enough where I don't feel like I'm looking at some tiny screen. So it's better than mobile gaming. It's better than Switch gaming. And I had my entire library on there, which is, like I said, something like north of 2,000 games. So it was just like the perfect thing. And then I went and broke it like a dummy.
But they're getting you taken care of, so should be good.
That's right.
All right, let's see. I finally watched that Wendell and Wild movie. Excuse me. Actually, it's a stop motion animation. The director is actually the same one who directed Coraline, along with Kevin and Keel, the comedy team. They're in it, and I think one of
Coraline
them.
is Henry Selick. He's awesome. I love his work.
Yeah, it was really, really good. Like, I don't know why we waited. Well, we got rid of Netflix, so that's one reason we waited. But it is highly enjoyable. I definitely recommend. Like, it definitely would have been one of my favorite movies as a kid. And then we finally saw 3.0 plus 1.1 in the theater, which is the last finale Ava movie. We did watch it as soon as it was released stateside, streaming with our friend Nigel, who we'd watch all of the rebuilds with. But alas, he has moved out of state, so we weren't able to actually manage to get together all of our schedules to go to where he lives or have him come up, so we weren't able to see this last one in theater, but we did watch it streaming together at our house, so I feel okay about that. And I loved it. I cried. The first time I saw it, I cried like a baby through a good portion of the movie because I diehard Evangelion fan. This time I managed to not cry until the very end, which was always going to get me. So, but if you just if you used to like Evangelion, I do recommend the rebuilds. It is definitely an alternate universe, but because of that, there's also the freedom to wrap it up with a nice clean little bow. As opposed to leaving things very ambiguous, like the ending of the TV series a lot of people didn't like, or the End of Evangelion movies, which again some people still didn't like because then it was a more literal here's what's going on outside, whereas the TV show was more here's what's going on inside their heads. So
I'm
I
surprised.
do recommend.
I'm surprised the viewers can't hear my eyes rolling. I hate Ava so much.
That's fine. That's fine.
God, I hate it.
I-
That is ugh.
there's lots of people who don't like it, and I admit, like, I was 17 and undiagnosed with depression, and like Shinji and Masato just freaking resonated with me. Like, oh my god, this explains so much. Like, it was just this weird moment. And then to top it off, it also happened to be like the anime that me and my husband had both seen and started to talk about while we worked together at the crappy video store, and which led to this long-term relationship of marriage and happiness. So hooray!
Okay, I'm happy in that aspect, but the rest of it can go die in a fire.
The first time I saw Evangelion, I saw it because I went, "Oh, this has giant robots. I'm into that. I like
Oh no!
robots. Let's see some of that." What I got and said was a very sad kid going through some real stuff and not enough robot fights. So I gave it up, but while I was watching, I went, "I'll bet this is really meaningful for somebody somewhere, and I'm really glad it exists." Because there's a million giant fighting robot movies and TV shows and anime I can go get. But there's probably not that many where that is only this tiny bit of it, and it's this other stuff that matters more. So I'm totally stoked it exists and that people have it, but I couldn't do it. I needed more. I needed robots wrestling in the ocean or something.
Nope, that's fair. I will say the rebuilds, you definitely get more. They really push the boundaries of what they can do with animation, especially like the computer generated. Like there's a scene where Shinji's just like walking down a hallway, and like everything else is just like exaggerate tilting around him just to convey this utter feeling of loss. And on the other side with giant freaking robots, there's a scene where like one of the Avas literally rips apart the Eiffel Tower to shove it into like another giant robot to stop it from getting off like this insane shot. And there's no like real, it's just a lot of like insane flipping and
Yeah.
just like circular motion. It's so incredible.
That sounds all right. See, that's kind of what I was in for, and I didn't get it initially, but that sounds like more like my jam. So I may have to check that out.
They are really cool. I think for the last one, you could, if you've seen the TV series, you could skip the first rebuild. It's just the first 4 or 5 episodes prettier. Not much different story-wise. But like 2 is where it starts to go off kilter. They introduce like a new character. There's more mechs. There's more fighting. And just like that's where the timeline is clearly divergent. We are doing something totally different, guys. So, let's see, what else did I do? Oh, I did. They canceled the cosplayers on ice down at Atlantic Station, but I went and just went down there and did ice skating anyway, because I haven't skated since 2019, and that was fun. And I did not fall on my butt, so hooray! It was really disturbing because it was like 65 degrees, and we're skating through at least an inch, if not 2 inches of water, as like desperately the ice machine is trying to beat the weather, which was really weird. Let's see.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait till like January.
Yeah, I think they pushed it back to January 6th, and please let it be colder because I was so upset. I'm out there in like a t-shirt and cursing that I didn't wear jeans because I was so hot.
Jeez.
We did our Trinity game on Tuesday.
Oh yeah, I
which
forgot
was-
about that.
Yeah, and that was cool. We think we found the aberrant, maybe, hopefully.
One aberrant. There's more than one. There's something else outside the ship that's messing with us.
We don't have to go outside anymore. It'll be fine.
Yes, we do.
Nope, I'm not going outside anymore.
Oh my gosh.
And then we did our D&D Witchlight game, which is always delightful and just full of whimsy. I highly, highly recommend it. We are so OP in this game, but it's just enjoyable because of all the weird things. One of our characters is she's a Barovian princess horse girl, and we met this beautiful pony, and she was like, I just want to go and braid the pony's hair. So it was delightful and ridiculous because she's talking with this vaguely European accent, and she's notorious for murder and has no regard for human life. But if you harm a single hair on this pony's head, I will slaughter you. I will slaughter your family. Your whole bloodline will be over at this point. Isn't that right, Sparkles?
Oh, LARPers.
It's just D&D. And then finally, I broke down and bought myself Clip Studio paint and was coloring some Rebecca line art that I've done, which...
I love Clip Studio. It's awesome. It's so good.
I mean, it's good. It's great compared to, God, I had GIMP, but GIMP doesn't work with the tablet I bought. So then I was doing Sketchbook, and then Sketchbook, it just, something changed. It's like, no, I need you to rebuy me. And I'm like, no, I already bought you. I'm not rebuying you. So I'm like, fine, I'll do Clip Studio. Everybody else I know loves Clip Studio, so let's give it a shot.
I really like Clip. I think, I'm more of a, I don't know, I really like
Procreate you use?
And Procreate, thank you. I use Procreate almost exclusively these days, but when it comes to like desktop, even tablet, the best secondary thing for me anyway is Clip Studio for sure. I wish it wasn't a subscription-y thing.
Yeah, I'm
Bums me
not
out.
excited about that. I don't.
No. I just wish more of this stuff would stick to a traditional model of like, hey, it just works and here it is and you pay for it. And if we do a new version, maybe you'll buy another one or you'll pay an upgrade or whatever. I don't know. I prefer that.
Yeah, during this time, because I was like, okay, fine, I have to buy a new art thing anyway. Let me see what we have. I did check the pricing on Photoshop and Illustrator, and it just made me so mad because that's what you learn in school, and then you just have to figure out how to do it backwards or without some of these things, but some of these things are hidden under the submenus, and it's just so frustrating.
Yeah, I feel you.
All right, and then finally, I need to find somebody who is watching the Bleach 1,000-Year Blood War because I need to talk to people about it. I need to talk to people. Come on, Bleach fans. I know you're out there. Please let me talk to you about how awesome the show is because I only have a friend who has read the manga, and I haven't read that manga in forever. I need to talk about, like, the awesomeness. Please contact me.
Where is that available? Because I am interested.
That's on Hulu.
And on Hulu?
And from Bleach, like, as long as you've gotten to the Ankar arc and you kind of know what Ankars are, which is basically spiritual wujubujis, that's it. That's all you really need to know. Then you can jump back in. Because I understand Bleach is ridiculously long, but not quite as long as One Piece.
Have you tried Dylan? He's
I've
usually
tried Dylan. Ooh.
and Alice. Alice usually is pretty up on the.
But nobody's
anime.
mentioned it. I felt like they had just released some huge crap. And I'm like, I feel that if other Bleach people were watching this, they would care about the Kenpachi situation or like
Look,
the
just
giant old man fight. And come on.
Just go on our After the End and Garden's Discords into the off-topic section and put in all caps who has watched Bleach with the 1,000 whatever war thing you're looking for. Somebody will answer.
Hopefully.
I'm
Like a
sure-
lot of it I've gotten has just been people like, I fell off Bleach and I'm not going back. I'm like, okay.
I always heard you're not supposed to watch Bleach or Ammonia at the same time. Seems like that.
Do not recommend.
That's a joke my
Boring,
mom
yes.
appreciate because she used to harp on that. So there you go, Mom. You're not listening, but that joke's for you.
I actually had a manager who did that
Oh,
when we
good.
worked at the coffee shop. It was great. Yeah, it's just like, no, this is the ultimate cleaning product. I'm like, no, you're gonna kill us all.
Yep. Don't mix those two. Bad news.
Ay.
All right. Let's get down to it. Scott, tell
ma'am.
us about yourself. Let's start off easy. What's your opinion on AI art?
Oh, my art. I have a lot to say about this subject, so I will now say it. I won't take too much time talking about it, but it's an interesting new thing. And there are two parts of me. One part of me is very interested in the technology and is fascinated by it. And that same part of me thinks there's some really valuable things at play here that could really be interesting, especially in the world of games, but otherwise. But in specific to gaming, I've used this example a few times in other shows, so forgive me if some have heard this twice or three times, but this really works in my head. I have a friend who's a small RPG maker. He has a very small company. It's like him and two other people, and they make RPG games. They sell them on Steam. They do pretty well. They're working towards some bigger projects. They're a small indie team, in other words. And their next RPG, they're now faced with a real opportunity, because prior to this, if you wanted to make an RPG and say, look, we've got 200 character portraits to choose from, and boy howdy, that sure gives you a lot of choice, and that's half the fun of an RPG, is really narrowing down something that you can get behind and role play and all that. And that is a very, very expensive production proposition. That means you've got to pay somebody somewhere to make a whole lot of portraits in a similar style, but all different. And you got to do that in a timely manner. You got to do it in a price conscious manner for such a small team. And honestly, it's just not possible. It doesn't work very well as a solution. And so they have to cut in other ways, or they have to figure out ways around it, or just not have that kind of choice. But they now live in a world where, like right now, today, if they wanted to, they could go generate 200 of these faces in seconds and do it at a fraction of the cost and a fraction of the time, and do it in a way that a 3-man team can afford it. Big part of me says, that's awesome. That is so cool. This is like a thing that would hold a small group like that back. So go for it. Then there's this other part of me that knows that AI art generation is based on hundreds of thousands of artists' work being scanned and trained on, with or without their knowledge and or input or anything. That just is the way it is. And so when these AIs poop out this work, and oftentimes it looks very good, and the reason it looks very good is because it is trained with machine learning on art that already exists from actual artists. And then they come up with amalgamations that are unique and different, but again, they don't have any of that without the input. The input, if the input didn't exist, the machines couldn't do it. So part of me has a real problem with that, because artists aren't being compensated, but they're also facing the real reality that they as entrepreneurs, or even just as employees, will soon be out of jobs, because these machines will do what they do much faster and infinitely cheaper, which is true. Then there's this other part of me that says, well, technology has always been a little bit like this, whether it's going from a strict paper world, or think of typesetters in the 60s and 70s, when that was still being used. People would print newspapers by somebody literally setting type in a giant room full of little metal letters and numbers, doing it all in reverse. They were very skilled at it. They used leading, actual leads for leading between sentences, this sort of thing. Lithograph, photographs, all this stuff, like a crazy process. And then along comes in the very late 70s, early 80s, this concept of desktop publishing. And it revolutionized that space, like completely changed it almost overnight. Not quite as fast as AI art is taking off, but pretty quickly. And that was a situation where a whole bunch of people trained in this traditional, you could call it an art of publishing and of typesetting and printing, were suddenly rendered useless in a lot of ways. And despite the fact that they had kind of a cool knowledge, a cool history that they could share with people and all of that, desktop publishing and the ability for computers to take over and do it in a faster, more efficient way was just the way it was. That was the writing on the wall. Did it kill those industries? Did it ruin the chance for people to do stuff? Maybe in some cases, maybe in the short term. But usually what happens is we figure out ways to acclimate to the change, and it goes better than we think it's going to go. This is one I'm a little less certain about, because every time, well, here's the difference. Every time I put pen to paper, I think to myself now, I'm about to start a 7-hour process. if that's what it is that I'm doing. And as soon as I put the pen down, my brain goes, this is going to take you 7 hours. Somebody else could input some information into an AI and they would be able to generate what you're going to take 7 hours to do in about 38 seconds. And it's going to be good enough for most of the world's needs. It may not be perfect for what somebody ultimately needs, but they're also going to pay a whole lot less for it. They may not pay anything for it. In fact, if they pay anything, they might pay $5. Your commission for 7 hours is probably going to be $1,200 to whoever's paying for it. So those are some pretty scary numbers if you also factor in how fast this is happening. It's happening in a real way. It's happening overnight. Like a lot of what happens on the internet, it's all amplified. It's very quickly. It's Napster for music. It's YouTube for video. It's like any of these major disruptions to existing markets. This is one of those. And I think some of the aspects of it are different, like I've said, but I do think it is one of those. And as someone who creates a lot of art for what I make for a living, but also a lot of what I just like to do for just personal pleasure, I just like to make and create. It's all a little overwhelming. And I guess what I'm saying is I'm not quite ready to write it off wholesale, but I have a ton of misgivings about what it is and where it comes from and who's behind it. These are mostly not artists making this. These aren't artists who are creating these learning systems and these AI systems. It's engineers and it's people like that. That's okay, but I'm not sure the right voices are in the room when this stuff's being done, and there are ethical questions that aren't being answered. And I honestly think we're heading towards some form of regulation via government or something else to try to mediate some of this stuff, because there really aren't.
What DeviantArt did was really shady and awful, and I hope that people turn away from those practices. But I saw some interesting views. Like I think it may wash out so that original works are more valuable.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I definitely agree. I also think that in the long term, people are going to turn to there's going to be a turning back or a bit of a flip. I think people think that one day everything's digital and that's just the way it is. I don't think so. I think that even though this stuff is high resolution, printable, ready to put on a wall and frame, I think there will be real value assigned to, well, this is an actual canvas by so-and-so, or this is an actual digital drawing then sent to print by somebody who did this by hand. I think that stuff is going to be valued, and it will be valued in strong ways. It's just that it's going to be a little bit more like how people are into vinyl for music, or are into
kind of the whole bespoke movement, right? Could
a little bit
shift into this. Although maybe this is why we needed NFTs. Holy no!
Now NFTs.
I'm a little.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm a little bit more hopeful about the situation. In a very kind of analog way, the art world has been through this before. With the advent of the camera, like way back in the 1800s, there was this same sort of pushback. The whole reason why we have the impressionistic art movement is because the camera was invented. And so people could, quickly at that point, even though it took much longer for pictures to be taken and developed back when it was first invented, you could have photorealistic pictures. So, people were like, oh, no one's going to want to buy still lifes anymore. No one's going to want to buy, paintings of people. And so there was this big pushback in the art world of the impressionistic movement. So there was this whole sort of, different way of art being made. And I'm just kind of waiting for that modernized, so we've got this, AIs can make artwork. There's going to be some sort of pushback of a different way of making art, or it's going to inspire innovation. At least that's
I totally agree. The question is, where will it leave a subset of people who are in the now, in the moment, who have been working and training their entire lives for a certain whatever it is they're at, will they be pushed to the side temporarily? That often happens, even in those, even that example you gave, which I totally agree with. There were people at the time who got kind of hosed, so I'm worried about them. The other one was there was another thing I was thinking of, and I can't remember what era this was, but there was an era where basically the proletariat or those with power determined what art was for that era. It was like, this is what art is. This is the painting we want. This is the sculptor we want. And that's how everybody has to be, or else you're not getting commissions. You're not going to be hired. You're not going to be a part of this. So society was like, it's this style or no style.
It's
To me,
probably the Renaissance.
Yeah, there was
We're just
definitely,
gonna put that out there.
definitely a bit of that in the Renaissance. That's probably it. So that
We're hearing who
Or
went to art
artist.
school here.
a bunch of artists went, you know what? We're going to do what we want to do, and we're going to do this other thing, and it's going to look totally different than you expect, and we're going to do that anyway. And then people started buying it, and before you knew it, they circumvented it. I think it's possible that one of those two scenarios shakes out this way as well, but there's a speed aspect to this and a mass adoption aspect to this that didn't exist back then.
That is
And
true.
that's my worry, because that's the part that just makes it feel unknown. I'm still, like I say, I'm not necessarily pessimistic about the ultimate outcome. I just know it's going to seem like a shock and awe kind of quote unquote war soon, and it's going to be nuts because there's very little you can do on the ground. Back in the day, in the 1800s, when photography became a technology, it really didn't affect that many people's lives. Like, it was a very small subset. The internet is chock full of people like us now, full of it, tons of them. For as far as the eye can see, there are people making content, putting it on the internet. And so, somebody the other day said, well, what about 3D printing? Did that do that to sculptors and people, or fabrication or whatever? And my answer is kind of, but in slow motion. That stuff's taking forever to advance. It's really cool where it's at now, but we're nowhere near the fears in those early days of like, well, you'll be able to make your own car. What do we need cars for? You make your own. We're not there. We may get there, but that is going to take a long time with a ton of innovation in between. We went from 0 to 800 with art AI generation. And
Yeah.
almost overnight, we went from garbage to that's as good as any illustration I've ever seen anybody do. And that, I think, has people spooked.
Yeah, it's one of those things. My husband jumped on the Midjourney thing, and he writes, but he can't draw. Like, he legitimately has a fine motor disorder, so he can't do anything really with the pencil. Like, so he's like, I don't have to bug you for ideas in my head to try and like draw a thing, and I don't have to bug you to try and teach me how to try and get some of this across in Photoshop anymore or whatever. I could just put the prompt in and it's there, and that's incredible. Like, it's so inspiring. I'm like, and I get it. I understand it is like sometimes there's just color palettes that I wouldn't have thought of for like a particular character. But on the flip side, I also just got my first ad from the San Francisco ballet production of the Nutcracker, where it's an AI mouse with a crown on its head. And because AI still has that very distinct style.
Yeah, right now
overall.
you can pick it out, right?
Yeah, and
It's,
not
I
even
always look
without
at the hands.
fingers.
I always look at the hands. I had
Yeah, even without
they did a set of like gods or something like that, and I'm like, you guys are lucky that you did a set of gods because they're like their hands can be weird, but it was oh my god, there was like 7 fingers. Their hands were doing wonky things like this. I
So
was
it's like
"Ugh."
art class hands, like beginner.
Yeah.
Oh, not even. There's
You know,
too
it
many.
turns out, humans have always said hands are the hardest thing to draw. Well,
Yeah.
computers agree. They're having a hard time. But
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I'm like, excellent. See, we're validated. We're not lazy. They're legit hard, guys.
An
Very
interesting parallel that I drew, and I'm not that kind of artist, medium, physical medium, but to me it also reminded me of when synthesizers came on the scene in music. Growing up in the 80s, there were people who were like, oh, it's just gonna ruin everything, and these people aren't musicians and stuff. And me, I was a fan of new wave and Depeche Mode and like stuff like Philip Glass. I mean, he's a great composer, but still, the idea of you could get those sounds and out of your head, and you had the idea, but then you had a simple tool to make it into, what you wanted. And people just raged about it was just going to ruin everything and nobody would learn an instrument anymore type thing. And that all happened really fast, but it just added to, and there was innovation into a whole new genre of music that still exists today.
And here's another good example. I was listening to a podcast called One Day, which just covers a single day in history for like 8 episodes. They do a whole series on a year, or not day, a year. So it's called 1 year. And the year is 1942, and this just happened, so it's fairly recent. I highly recommend listening to it. But it basically, one of the episodes is all about the lead up to World War II. Others were other things. But this particular one was called, I think, The Year the Music Died. And it was something I had no idea about, but about halfway through, or a little bit less than halfway through that year, music stopped, and it was because everybody went on strike. And the reason they went on strike is this is the year where recording technology took off. Prior to that, it was expensive and lame and it didn't sound great, but we finally got to a place where a famous singer of the era could go into a studio, record an album, and bam, you have an album. Now you have record labels, now you have distribution, and you have radio playing these songs. And all of the artists freaked out because suddenly all their music was pre-recorded, could be listened to as many times as anyone wanted to, with or without them there, and they weren't getting any money for it. There were no residuals yet. There were no like, hey, you're going to get, what's the other word when people get
Royalties.
There were no royalty systems in place. There was none of that. And so they were freaking out going, because they also grew up in an area, trained in an area where music meant live. That was always the way it was. Even movies, when they were silent films, meant a live band or a live orchestra in the theater making music. And now
some dude on an organ.
Exactly. Those people were out. They were kicked out of those places because this is cheaper, faster, easier. And that to me feels like the closest parallel, because the fear feels similar to me. Also, the short-term ding feels similar to me, where people literally lose jobs as a result. In the long run, forget about Napster and Ford, that's another whole mess. But in the long run, it became what the industry would become. Pre-recording was the norm. Concerts were the rare. It was like it just flipped. The whole thing flipped. But people made a crap ton of money across the board, and everything worked out okay in the long run. That may be what we're facing here, but the difference here is, like, I like September's example. The difference here, though, is that this stuff is, in a lot of cases, some of it, not all of it, some of it is like finished, complete work and good enough for Newsweek to have as the header of their big article that week. And that used to be a commission for $600 for somebody. Now it's nothing. That stuff's concerning because there's no innovation inside of there. It's not like the Moog synthesizers made anything easier. I mean, heck, look at us right now. We're streaming a thing. We're recording a thing. We're all talking in real time with very little lag, with 1080p video coming from everybody and then going out again in 1080p high definition. This seems insane to talk about it like this. But not that long ago, what we're doing right now was impossible. And you could argue that this was scary to some subgroup or some industry at the time. But it turns out this just brought innovation with it. That's mostly what happens. The art part is just hard to see what the knock-on will be, unlike you could see what it would be with technology innovation with video and streaming and that sort of. You can kind of predict where it'll go, despite the disruption in the early stages. This is just harder to see. And I'm not saying I know, because I don't. That's the point. It's hard to see. But that's what scares people, is this one is a little more ambiguous, a little more foggy. And I worry about people in the interim, mainly. Also, I think cartoonists are going to fare better, by the way, because none of this AI art stuff is very good at reproducing like Disney stuff or very stylized.
Yeah, I was going to say, because some of it, like the one that DeviantArt used, was... There are settings, I guess. I haven't used one of these programs yet. I'm kind of staying back a while. But they're meant to try and emulate a style or a bunch of styles. And I think that's where some of it is just going wonky. The AI cannot cope right?
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't know what to do. Now, will it get better at that? Absolutely. But if you're saying I want a semi-realistic, painterly avatar of me wearing some cool space armor, it can do that, and it does that with more photography input than it does art input. But can it take can it do 16 strips in the style of Charles Schultz and Peanuts? Not yet. Which is
I'm gonna
hilarious.
ask for myself as an avatar in the style of Fred and Can and see what happens.
Yeah, and you'll be blown away how bad it is. I've done this. I've done this very thing, and it's horrible. Now, I'm not, I'm low on the totem pole in terms of training. So if you did something more like do me in the style of, Bill Watterson or somebody who did, my brain won't work.
Calvin Hobbes.
Calvin and Hobbes, geez. If you wanted to look like that, you might get a little bit more info out of there, but that stuff's going to look wrong. And it will. I don't see that looking right for a long time. So in some ways, those of us who've chosen a much more stylized path are way less in danger with this. If you're doing really painterly photorealistic stuff, I worry for you.
Yeah.
First of all, you're going to get trained on a lot and get nothing for it. And secondly, that stuff's looking so good, you may be out of a job for a while.
I'm not surprised it can't do Disney stuff yet. I'm sure they have a team of people that are like, is that an AI? Shut it down!
Yeah.
That's actually the current joke right now is to feed it a lot of Disney requests. So
Yeah.
Disney will then pull rank to try and stop it from just sweeping like Google images of all art. Because, yeah, like right now it still has its own style. It's still very funky. And yeah, as somebody who did try the Lensa app because I was dumb and I thought I was paying money because it was a specifically trained app and wasn't using the open AI. So I was done with that. But yeah, a lot of those were a bunch of, to me, it reminded me of just filters with like slight movement adjustments.
Yeah.
I was upset because my friend got one where she looked like a badass in armor, and all I got were a bunch of princess looks, and I'm like, I wanted to be a badass in armor. It didn't give you that. You put in 10 to 20 photos, and it just like randomly spat it out with like 5 different subcategories, which really did not make much sense.
So I wonder if
actually
this market's
connecting-
going to split up. So we've got
It might-
more
it very well-
specialized AIs that do promise royalties to the artists that are included in the list of the filters.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. There's also just like, I am almost, well, I'll just say it. I'm convinced the people that need to worry are not the artists, or that's not the side of the art that they're worried about. It's the writing. So if you say, make me a Charles Schultz looking comic, and a finished one the way that Charles Schultz would have done it, it's going to look bad. But it might read exactly right. And the reason that is that AI, the stuff that's writing things, what's this new one called? GPT, whatever it is, the OpenAI, everyone using it now, writing code with it and stories with it and all that. That thing's insane. And it's crazy. Like at the minute that thing becomes available for me to use anytime I want, I'm going to use it to generate YouTube text because it'll save me time. Like I'll just say, make a short thing about this game I covered. Boom, it's done.
I've been getting ads for people trying to sell me something to write my blog posts, and I don't trust it for that. Even though I see my husband, who's a programmer, using an AI to write programs, and you still need to know what you're doing. You still need to be able to fix it because it's not going to spit out something that works every time. But
right,
I wonder if that's going to start kind of pushing out ghostwriters.
Well, that's kind of what I'm getting at, or at the very least, it's going to push out first drafts.
Well, because I know that one of Ray and I's mutual friends, she used to do, I don't know if she still does it, but she used to do a lot of writing on Fiverr. She would basically just write certain scenes for people and then like send them to them, and they could like edit them however they wanted. And that's kind of basically what I'm hearing.
Oh, that's scary.
It'll do.
Yeah. Because style is not copyrightable.
No, and that's the problem.
Which is the problem with the AI art too.
If you said, it may even have a better ending, but if you said write a book in the style of Stephen King, I think that's happening way sooner than somebody exactly copying the style of, I don't know. Alex Ross, who does kind of painterly comic book stuff.
I love Alex Ross.
Love him too. He's amazing. But that them getting that exactly right, getting an Alex Ross Captain America precisely right, is farther off than them getting a famous author's book style right, and that should scare authors. Because then you just say, I feel like a mystery. I'm going to sit down and say, I'm going to feed it these 8 things. My bad guys like this, my good guys like that. And it has something to do with a murder. Go. And then boom, you've got an 800 word or 800 page novel to read that you sort of made. And why would you buy another book ever again if it's that good? Now, there will always be
curious.
I can't do that. I need an actual author who's good at stuff, and I know the difference. And there will be that. But what I'm saying, there are a lot of people with no taste in this world who are just they're happy to have the bottom line trash, whatever it is. And so when I see ads come across Twitter where I can tell the header image is totally an AI art generation and it's of some politician or something else, that just tells me their standards are low. And I think there's a ton of people in that category. I hate to say it, but there are. Will there always be something that people don't want more? Absolutely. But price has a big part of it. Like the whole thing's just, it's a little too present right now for anyone to have the answers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if those books would work on me. Like, I have a hard time finding a book to read that I don't want to edit.
Well, that's true. You may still do that, but here's what will happen. Someone's going to sit you down and say, all right, September, book A. Or here's short story A and short story B. They're going to do like Pepsi and Coke challenge. And they're going to say, read both of these. Now, you tell us which one was written by a person and which one was written by an AI.
I will sign up for that study.
I would love to see the results of it. I mean, honestly, I think these things actually need to start happening because we need to kind of see, is it working? Are people seeing, even with the art stuff, can I tell the difference? Can I not tell the difference?
Yeah.
Everybody's raving about these like Wes Anderson style Avengers things that the Russo brothers generated and put up online. I don't know if you guys saw these. They're very
Haven't
cool.
seen those yet.
They're pretty cool. But if you spend a long time really gazing at this art, quote unquote, again, fingers are jacked up. The one of them, the lady's head is all oblong and strange, and it's not like obvious stuff right away, but it's not good.
There's something. There is still something of the uncanny valley that it usually pegs something in your brain. Something in your brain is like, I don't know why, but it's not right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. Our brains are smart that way. We've got millions of years of evolution to see if something is right or not, or something throws us off. I mean, we're built that way. So in a way, that's our defense against this. But I remember, and it was all just deep fakes. Well, now all of it's like deep fakes you want. Like you want to buy this thing that's in the style of a Baroque artist because you can't afford the real thing and it's just good enough and I can hang this over my thing and who knows the difference. And if anyone asks, it's actually cool to say a computer did it. Like we're just facing a whole lot of different attitudes and different, I don't know, it's weird. It's cyberpunk time. We got to get ready. It's
Runners, get ready.
Yep.
Yeah, my husband had posted one from the Midjourney art thread that was like a Matrix thing. And it took me a moment because I was staring at it. And I'm like, because I didn't want to open it up yet. And I'm like, what is this? What is this weird Matrix thing? And then it was like somebody did a prompt with like Matrix, but with Muppets. And I'm like, oh, okay. That explains some of this.
Yeah.
So it's just, the hell.
And some of it's fascinating. You see it and you go, oh, yeah. I mean, like there's one where the cast of The Office is shown in what they would look like in a Mad Max world. And it's so cool. It is so rad. Like Kevin looks like a total bad A, and all these people who I normally laugh at, I'm like, oh, he looks like he'd be real rough stuff. And I love Mad Max anyway, so this stuff just like, is up my alley. And I look at it and I'm amazed by it. I want to right click it and save it. I want to like see it. And then I go, nah, Scott, you're kind of doing the thing that's the problem here. Like we're such a meme culture. We're suckers for this stuff. And the problem is companies know it. And I'm not being conspiratorial here. That's how they sell you on it. Lensa sells you on it because they literally do a cool thing.
Yep.
So why wouldn't you? And a lot of people have been and did. The problem is that's a whole other issue. But that company's owned by some Russian oligarch dude who's like real shady, and who knows what they're doing with your photos. And like,
Yeah, they're supposed to delete them, and then they're like, but at the same time, they own the rights to everything it generated.
Yeah,
So,
doesn't make sense.
yeah,
I don't know if I buy that.
I admit I messed up because I thought I'd waited because some of those apps, you wait a few days and it'll like go away or it'll wash out, and it just like more and more, and like as soon as some of my art friends jumped on it, I'm like, well, that seems okay. And like I've read over the term. I'm like, okay, it doesn't seem bad. I don't care. I'm not an actor. I'm not a model. And now I'm like, damn it,
Mhm.
fucked up.
Well, and it's no, I mean, again, that's not your fault. I think that's them knowing they know that people are going to respond this way. We're all online all day looking for something cool. And when
Yeah,
something
it's
cool comes past us, we're like, ooh, something new and cool. That doesn't happen every day. Usually it's the same old stuff. So, bam, you're on board. And
yep.
I was very briefly on board until I did a little digging. I never paid for it. But, to me, it's obvious why that succeeded. And I don't blame anybody for it because it is cool. I just don't think that they're doing it because it's cool. They're doing it. There may be somebody working at Lensa who's like, this is cool and that's why I do it. But for the most part, they're like, people are going to think this is cool and that's why they'll pay for it.
Yeah, like I paid for it because I thought it was a specific AI art
Right.
generator. I'm like, oh, okay, so we're paying for the generator time because like after a point with Midjourney, you can use it for free for like so many prompts, and it's like, okay, you have to pay now because you're using
Yeah.
too much of a processing resource. So,
Right. Right.
but all right, I
Alas.
think this just turned into the AI art.
We went really deep on that. I figured we might if it came up. So.
No, I knew as soon as I asked, I'm like, this could be this is a good one. All right. If you have any thought, we're gonna have to bring you back. I swear, we're gonna have to bring you back and do an actual proper interview and not talk about just AI art.
Yeah, we
Well,
totally
I'm
have
glad
like
we got
more
to-
questions about you and your art background
yeah.
and everything.
Sure. Well, no, and I can totally do that, obviously, but I also think it's a good discussion to have. So I hope people got something out of it, and can make their own decisions on this sort of thing. But of course, artists are going to see it differently than non-artists, and some people think they're artists and they're not. Some people think they're not and they are. Like, it's just it's a muddy mess.
Yeah,
And
like
I think talking about it's good. So I'm glad we did.
yeah, I have some friends that are artists that have jumped in and they're getting really good at like getting the right prompt to get what they want out of it.
Mhm.
And then I have others that are like absolutely terrified.
Mm.
And I can really see it from both ends, and I'm trying to maintain that balance. But I'm like, but
It's hard.
if you have opinions about AI art, you can always chime in by emailing us geekgrills@gmail.com, or you can tweet us at geekgrills. So Grills, what are you most anticipating right now?
Tomorrow we have our work white elephant party, which means that we get to not work for 2 hours and sit and open presents.
Yay!
Yay! So I'm happy about that because it's great. I'm gonna see last year. I think it was one of the doctors couldn't keep whatever she kept opening because she kept getting her thing stolen. Because if you don't know, a white elephant party is basically you're all given numbers. You pick a gift in order of your number, and then the second person can either pick a gift to open or they can steal yours. And then you go back and you get another one and it goes down the line. We have a strict 2 steals and that's it. Otherwise, it would be chaos. There was one year there was like a Coach bracelet and I thought there was going to be an insurrection in the parking lot. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's going to hopefully be a nice calm Tuesday at the lab, and we can just have our gifts and eat our Cracker Barrel because they're bringing in food for us. So,
Yay.
yay!
I too am
What
going
you-
to a white elephant, but they're calling it a dirty Santa,
Yay!
which I always get a kick out of. And actually, one of the things I picked up for it today reminded me of Scott because I found a mug by I think a local artist made it. It was in that kind of place, and it's Chewbacca, but it says Tupaca, and it has
Oh,
Chewie
that's
with
great.
all kinds of rapper wear.
I love
And it reminded me of some of your stuff.
I love that. I love stupid play on words. So I'm
Yeah,
in.
my it's a
Always
trap one has it's a frap has a crack in
crap.
it, and it's like
Yeah.
Aw.
hidden away
Oh
to not be
man.
used. Yeah, it makes me sad.
Oh,
I'm trying.
I
You have a
still have that
couple?
one.
Hmm,
I still have that one. I don't have two. If I do, you can have it. I'll find it.
I'd be so happy. I
Yeah.
love that
Let's
one.
see, let's see if I can get it.
Like I'm a jerk and I should just throw it away, but I can't. Um, I'm trying to think of sweatshirt designs. Michael's had a really, really good sale, and I had vouchers from. I made a whole bunch of little angels to sell for Christmas at the jewelry place I sell stuff, and I got a couple of XL black sweatshirts. So I'm trying to think of some really cool designs to put on them. Trying to decide about TMS Vegas. I want to go. I think I'm gonna go,
Yeah.
but my husband doesn't know if he wants to go yet, and I don't know when he's gonna decide. But I want to book. But Claire already has a roommate, I think, and I was gonna room with her, but then I'm like, but then if my husband's there, like, are you cool with that? I don't know. I have to decide and do the booking soon. And at the karaoke we host on Friday, there's going to be an ugly sweater party. I'm glad I'm exempt from the contest because I also don't have to wear an ugly sweater. Not my thing. What are you looking forward to this week, Scott?
For me, it's finishing some major stuff on this card game and spending a bunch of time with a 3-year-old who likes to take parts or put puzzles together and then tear them apart and then redo them over and over, like Christmas puzzles. So he and I are going to be doing a bunch of that this weekend, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Even though I hate puzzles, but I really like this kid, so I should make it clear. He's my grandkid. He's not just some kid.
Just a
I just
random
realized,
kid you found.
I just realized the way I was describing it. It's like, I'm going to find a kid and we're going to do puzzles. No, we're blood relatives, and it's happening. So it's all very exciting.
Very cool. Yeah, I've got Christmas shopping that I still need to do, but it's not Christmas yet, so I still have plenty of time, because this is how I roll. And then I've got this Friday off, so I'm thinking of trying to visit my family since we did Thanksgiving with them. We're not going to go up for Christmas. We're going to stay and spend it with my husband's family. So I'm going to see about just visiting them on Friday, and then I'm going to try and get back into roller skating because doing the ice skating reminded it's very similar. So I'm like, oh man, I should just go to Sparkles again. Like I could wear my mask if I'm still nervous, which I have some friends who literally just came down with COVID, so still a little nervous. But I really want to get back into that because I was trying to get myself derby ready before lockdown, so. And then the only other thing is I'm working on the cross stitch of the Iron Chef symbol for my LARP costume, it's literally just like
How's
still-
it going?
okay. I
cool.
still not 100% sure what the icon is. Like it's got a K a little emblem and like looks like little plants coming out the top of it, and then like I guess in my head they're just two big angry chickens on either side. So I've done the K symbol, and now I'm working on the right chicken before I switch to the left, and they are bigger than the little round thing to keep the fabric taut. So
Need help. I'm willing
My
to
brain
help.
broke with the
Not-
angry chicken
they just
reference,
look like
like
chickens,
unintentionally. Okay.
like the really pretty fighting chickens.
Oh,
I don't know how
jeez.
to describe it. I'm gonna have to draw this, aren't I?
Yes.
You're gonna have to draw this. This is gonna be our cover for this episode. This
Okay,
has to
angry
happen.
Chickens fighting. Gotcha. Okay.
Gotcha.
Pretty
Pretty
chickens. To
chickens.
be
Pretty chickens.
Not just. We don't want people to think it was a cockfight.
But yeah, that's what I was working on. It actually kind of reminded me. I haven't made this character yet. They're still very nebulous in my head. So when I did to have like a free Mid-Journey for a bit, I did try to like put in some prompts for it to see like if there was any other like inspiration it could give me. It was weird. Not really inspiring, but weird. Because it's like Wild West, cook, fighter, steampunk, post-apocalyptic, weird, and man, it just latched onto weird. So
I still think you need to find out where April got her fake machete, her fake like giant knife, because she's got one that's
yeah.
made out of it's not foam, it's silicone, I think. You just
Mhm.
need to have that and just throw it at people.
Well, I have the little LARP dagger that I'm gonna use for now because I already own it, so I don't have to buy anything new. But
Because
the
I
only
own
thing,
Because
the
I
only
own
other
it.
thing I need is a chef hat because chef uniforms really haven't changed over the
I have
century.
one, and it says Kitchen Witch on it.
Nah, they're
Oh, wow.
cheap. It's like $10.
Or it might say Kitchen Bitch. I don't remember. I haven't worn
Kitchen
it.
bitch would be appropriate, but I'm just gonna pick it up.
Okay. Well, remember, folks, you can always come watch us record live at twitch.tv/geekgrills on most Monday evenings. Our next one will be on December 19th at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We're planning to have an interview with Andy O'Neill. She's an administrator I know who works at NASA. Unless she can't get our questions cleared by HR, we ran into a little speed bump there because she's not allowed to speak for them. So hopefully we'll get those approved this week. And if not, we're going to talk about advent calendars because they're super popular right now. So we'll talk about the origins and the popularity.
And in addition to subs and bits that we get on Twitch, we are supported by our amazing patrons, the greatest girlfriends on the internet. You can become a patron at www.patreon.com/grills. And if you have Amazon Prime, you can sub us for free every month on Twitch.
And another way to show your support is by leaving us a review. You can do so on any of your podcast catchers. You can check out what topics we're going to be doing in the next month on our schedule below on our Twitch page. And if you're a patron, you can always suggest a topic for us. We will do it. And we'd love to hear your ideas.
Right, where can we find everyone on the interwebs?
You can find me on Instagram under the name madcap_misc, that's MISC, and then you can check out my website at madcapm.com.
I can be found at 9of12.com, NINEOF12.com. There's an easy link there to all my shows.
What about you, Scott?
Well, you can find most of what I do at frogpants.com. There's all the art and the shows and everything else I got going. But in specific, if you are interested in this game I talked about, it is called Dungeon Murder. I guess I never said the name of the game. DungeonMurder.com has a holder page with a bunch of info on there, including a very short video of some beta play. So if you are interested in following any of that, again, that is DungeonMurder.com. And you can find me on Twitter at Scott Johnson.
All right, and you can find me on Instagram under DappleDame. Thanks for listening, everyone. GG, good game.
Okay.
Woo!
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
I played the Diamond Club thing. I know none of you could hear it, but
It's just always in my head. Diamond
Stick-
Club.
actually,
Stitches
I
in the
may
leg.
throw into the episode. I think I have. I know I have. I found it again the other day. I have a little snippet of Linda going, Diamond Club, hope you enjoyed this program. Because I wasn't here and you just said it like that.
Oh,
And I grabbed it.
Sometimes better just to say it because, you know, those guys are chuckleheads. You got to give them some heat once in a while.
dang it. Yeah, I had so many other questions. And I didn't even get to stuff that I didn't write on there, which was like, Earth and Ring? Wow, really? That was my server. And oh my gosh, maybe just like all sorts of ridiculousness.
We could have talked about the original name of our guild was I Eat Babies was the name. And the reason we called it that is because a troll in the game, like literally the troll race, had a line that was, they got rid of it, but it used to say,
Yeah.
I eat babies. And
It was the other
Veronica Belmonts, who set it up with me when we first set up the guild, and she says, I love this. I said, great, we're going to be I Eat Babies. And then Blizzard contacts us. So you can't do that. And we went, but we took it out of your game. It's on your trolls say it. And like a week later, the troll line went away. It was no longer in the game. So,
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Some
Yep.
programmer slipped that in there.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they took it out. Well, part of it was when we set up the guild, it was the biggest guild in the game's history at that point. And it still may be. Anyway, it was huge. And they were like, we can't have the world's biggest guild called I Eat Babies. We're going to get in trouble. And so I kind of get it, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about this Diablo show you're restarting, because are
Oh,
you
yeah.
getting back into bed with Blizzard? Because I'm still not giving them any money until Kotick's gone, is my line.
not really in bed with them, but I am going to cover that game, which is what that show used to do. The last one I did for was in 2019, right after BlizzCon, because after that, there just wasn't any news. It was just like, well,
Mm-hmm.
they're making a new game. They basically stopped really doing much with 3 other than, seasonal updates, which aren't really, they're just kind of on repeat. And even, Immortal wasn't even a thing yet. So the decision I made was, it's my favorite game series of all time. And part of the coverage will be things like, hopefully this Microsoft deal goes through and Kotick is gone. But there'll be coverage of that stuff throughout there as well. I'm not going full instance again where it's like, we're covering everything and we got these devs on all the time and all that stuff is not going to happen. Not until, I don't know. I need to see more from them in terms of.
Yeah. Like,
how
I
they
would love
change.
to be back in WoW, but no, not yet. And my husband wanted me to thank you because he put it down for a long time and he keeps thinking about getting back into Witcher. And you said something about The Witcher the other night on some show and he overheard it, and like that's what he's doing right now.
Yeah, let me tell you right now. So what is it? Today's the 12th. In 2 days, there's a free update hitting for consoles, and I think the PC is getting part of it. Well, I know they are because it's going to support cross save across everything. So no matter where you have it, you'll be able to move your saves around. So they're adding that, but they're doing a complete graphical overhaul, adding ray tracing, a whole bunch of stuff, and the early reviews are like through the roof. Like, this is a huge update to this game, and it looks amazing. So I am all about The Witcher 3 again. I can't wait. I'll be playing
Nice.
that. I'll be playing the hell out of it that day. I'm already playing it though. So I started a fresh game on purpose and bought it on sale on the Series X. It was only $9 for all of it, including the DLC. And I just thought, well, that's dumb. I'll just buy it. And when that update hits, it's like I got this brand new $60 game for $10. So
Sweet.
I'm excited. He's right to be playing it. It's awesome.
I just finished Cyberpunk and I'm like, I think I should play Witcher now.
Yeah, you
Did a
could.
year ago.
You should. I did the same. I played Witcher back in 2015, but I beat Cyberpunk recently, and it really did kind of just make me want to go back to The Witcher. Just to, I don't know. They make amazing worlds, and all the issues with Cyberpunk aside, it was a pretty amazing world. So I just forget how big and amazing The Witcher is. The Witcher world is insane. It's so good. If you haven't played it, you should.
Yeah, no, it seems right up my alley. My only other huge game that I love is Dragon Age. Like, I will play any Dragon Age.
If you like Dragon Age, especially Inquisition, the recentish one, you'll love Witcher because a lot of that same stuff going on.
Yeah, that's what I've been told. So I'm like, all right, I should really just buckle down and get. So maybe I'll get that for Christmas. I don't know.
I know we don't have a release date yet, but that new Dragon Age has me pretty excited.
Yes, I am stoked. Actually, I think we were gonna try and download the latest series on Netflix. They just released it.
Oh yeah, I heard that was real good.
There's
People like it.
there's a Qunari mage, like a female Qunari mage. I'm like,
Oh.
oh, that's really different from the
Yeah.
lore. So I need to see this.
Yeah, no kidding. But that's so great. Netflix is like 3 in a row for quality video game anime or animation adaptations with Arcane was amazing. I thought the Cyberpunk thing was totally cool.
That's why I played Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten about it and that show, and I'm looking at my husband who played Cyberpunk, and I'm like, is it like this? He's like, just play.
Yeah, you can play it. I mean, it's different in a way, but it's also a lot like that anime. I really like that, but they keep just making these. Oh, and Castlevania is an amazing series.
Yes.
Oh, I
I-
love it so much.
I'm convinced that the way you make good video game adaptations is serialized animation. Like sure, go like Last of Us makes sense to make the HBO show. I get it, right? It's a big gritty thing that's about realism, even though some of it's quite fantasy. But when it comes to these other type, like the stuff we just talked about, I'm way more interested in an animated version of all this stuff. So I hope they keep doing it because I love that stuff. It's rad.
It is. All right. Well, Scott, it's we'll I guess let you go unless you want to help us pick a title. We do have a title to pick.
What do you got? You got a list already?
Yep. Yeah, we've got Showbot. I put it in the chat, but you probably didn't see it. All right. So I've got So Much Gritting I Hurt My Face. The Spectrum of Evangelion. Too Much Existential Crisis. Not Enough Giant Robots.
Nice.
Ice Skating in Georgia is Wet.
X.
Don't watch Bleach and Ammonia at the same time.
Yeah.
What's the art part?
Yeah.
This podcast has gone 0 days. I threw the graphic
we're
up of
talking
your
about-
sign, by the way, when you mentioned Mad Max.
Did you? Oh, you did. Okay, good. Someone needed to do that.
And Kitchen Bitchin' and Angry Chickens.
Wow. That's hard to choose from. I don't know. I like them all. I kind of like. Crap. Where's the link? I'll just look at them.
Yeah.
Did you put it somewhere?
I can put it somewhere, sure. Where is it? I'll put it into Discord.
Either the Angry Chickens or the Don't Watch Bleach and Ammonia at the same time.
Yeah, like we're gonna have the Angry Chicken, beautiful,
Icon, yeah.
pretty chickens. I don't know, like the art that Ray's gonna do.
Beautiful.
And by the
mad
way, yeah,
chicken.
Scott, sometimes Ray illustrates whatever our title is, and I use it as a cover.
Very randomly. I need to get back on doing that.
It's
No more.
yeah, when it happens, it's fun. But I'm a little concerned about Angry Chicken being a whole different thing. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not going to be
Yeah.
mad. We've had Joss
No,
on,
they'd
we've
be
had
fun.
Garrett on, we've had Dills on. Like all the old school Angry Chicken have been on the show.
Yeah,
like,
they wouldn't care.
but we weren't
they-
talking about them.
Yep. I also like for topic, what's the art part? Or
What's the art part? Yeah.
not enough giant robots, but I'm like, no, with AI, there's probably enough giant robots.
Yeah, and with having Scott on, this podcast has gone 0 days. Being a running gag is also a potentially good title.
Yeah, it's not bad. But I think I kind of agree that you ought to put the art thing in there.
What's
like,
the art part?
Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause that was so much of the discussion. I think it fits.
Yeah. Is that where I thought we
Yep.
were going? It's where we ended up. That's my
Yep.
fault. I put that in there. I probably shouldn't have put it first.
Well,
Yeah, like,
podcast-
oh. man.
podcasting is this way. You never know what you're gonna get. It's all good.
And it was a really good discussion, so.
I agree.
Oh, yeah. People who actually know their stuff like you guys.
Well, there'll be more, I'm sure. We're not done with that topic, this world of ours.
Oh gosh, no.
I just-
On my Facebook, there's just like countless threads of like,
Yeah.
you're awful, you're terrible, you're stealing from people, like to the point where I actually like, because of the Lenza thing, I looked up some of the big 3 artists that are apparently the most impacted, and I'm
Yeah.
comparing. I'm like, it doesn't look like it, and I'm like, that's it. If I see something that looks like it, I will pay them like a $10, like give them the $10 that I spent. But otherwise, I'd rather just give my money to other artists that I do know, because
Yeah.
Jason does art or Sam does art. I'm like, Sam does art, I'm pretty sure is not hurting for my $10, but
Yeah.
my friend in Columbus is hurting for my $10. So
Yeah, I think I'm going to commission something from Audi soon.
Oh,
Audi.
he's awesome.
Yeah.
Great work. Yeah.
We rated Two Dorks TV, by the way, Grills, because TV's Travis was in our show earlier until he had to go do his, so I figured.
Yeah, always
Fair
give
enough.
Travis love. Travis is a good dude. Love
Yeah,
that
I'm
guy.
going to be on his show again soon.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, the only reason I could even like put in my 2 cents, I didn't study art, I studied music,
Mhm.
but it turns out that the Impressionistic art music impacted the Impressionistic music movement. So because of Impressionistic music, I did a study on how the art was, from this camera. There's an entire ripple effect from art to music. So
Well, actually, you kind of reminded me, like, even on a more modern, I remember, like, Photoshop and, like, people being freaked out about Photoshop. Like,
yeah.
this is gonna ruin everything. And, like, digital art, like, late 90s, early aughts was, like, just, there's weird barrier to, like, once you got it, you got it. Except for me,
Nice.
who stopped it for, like, a decade, and now I'm like, how do I do stuff again?
The nice thing about it is, while it did have its hurdles, it really was just a new surface. It was a
Yeah.
new medium for the same talented people to use, learn and use, and then master. So to me, it was like going from stone walls as a caveman to papyrus to, everything since. And that was just another step. That stuff makes sense to me. And it helped artists in the immediate and long run. That was like a huge boon.
And it
for
didn't
us.
ruin photographers either, because you still have to have the eye and the composition.
Oh yeah.
You still
Yeah.
have to. It just made it easier to, like, instead of having to mess around in the dark room, which was great, except when you realize you've been in the dark room for 3 hours and everything is starting to get really swimmy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those chemicals are all up in your face. No good.
Like, simultaneously, like, art school was fantastic and terrible.
Yeah, totally. All right. Well, I'm gonna bail. You guys are awesome. Thank you for having me.
No,
Thanks for
thank
coming,
you.
Scott.
Yeah, we'll do this again sometime, and I promise I won't talk about AI art next time.
We'll skip it. We'll do, like, actual interview, and then maybe.
Fair enough. All right. Have a good one, ladies. It was great talking to y'all.
Thank you,
Okay,
Scott.
thanks. Bye. Cool.
Yay.
He did the hang up thing. He did the hang up thing, and he wasn't the host. Oh, he does that on his show. Like when you're on there, like, or he has people call in for contests and stuff, and he's like, he'll ask him a question and then just hang up on him in the middle, like he thinks it's funny. So he hung up in the middle of himself.
Yep. No, I
Dork.
noticed, like, we're over 9, and I'm like, I just really want to keep talking about AI art, though.
I
It
know.
was good. Good
It was really
conversation.
good.